a little plant stand. It says plant stand on it. I got it at Goodwill. I think I paid about $4 for it. And it's very rough, but I think it's really cute. And I want to redo it. I can tell that somebody used it as a plant stand because it looks like they got a little bit of water damage on it. But what I'm going to do is I've already washed it off really good. Anytime I start to do any type of a wood project, I always clean it first really good with Simple Green. Then I let it dry really well. And then I decide how I want to proceed. This one, like I said, is it feels like really rough to the touch. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it. First of all, I'm going to paint it a dark brown. Then I'm going to dry that coat. And I'm going to come back with I believe a moss green, and then I'm going to distress it a little bit. And so what we should end up with is when I do a little sanding and a little distressing, it should show some of the brown paint underneath, which is what I'm planning on doing. I think I'm going to go ahead and paint it with some hazelnut and maybe put a little bit of this black ink color in it as well. I'm going to get a bowl to mix up my paint. I usually use a paper plate when I'm painting. I just use a paper plate. I mix my paint in the paper plate. Then I just throw it away. I use these foam brushes and I just throw them away because it makes for a really good cleanup. So I'm just going to be, this is just a little bench. It's called a plant stand. I got it at Goodwill. I paid about $4 for it. And I'm going to paint it first with some brown. And I'm going to let that dry. I'm probably going to go ahead and use my blow dryer to dry it really quickly because I don't want to wait on it. And then I'm going to do like a dark, I hate getting these paint things open. I'm going to do like a really dark brown. And then once that dries, I'm going to do like a green, a dark moss green. Then I'm going to do some sanding. Oh, I thought I had everything. Let me just get this open. This has never been opened. There we go. At least I remember to put my gloves on. If you've ever been to this channel before, I like to do upcycles and DIYs. And I like to do crafting and sewing. Sometimes I like to redo furniture. I do a lot of thrifting. I do upcycles, just all kinds of different stuff. So I'm also doing a giveaway, and I have that video that has a patriotic picture. I filmed that tonight. And if you're interested in being in the giveaway, you just have to comment on the video where I tell about the contest. And anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started getting this brown on here. It doesn't really matter if I do a really good coverage or not, because I really just want this to kind of be one of the layers. So I'm not going to take a lot of time with it. And if you're interested, if you've ever thought about redoing any type of furniture, I always think that the best thing to do is go to the thrift store and get you a small piece that doesn't cost much money to experiment on. And chalk paint is also a good place to start, because chalk paint is very, very forgiving. And a lot of times you can take chalk paint and you don't even have to sand. It just adheres really well. So I knew it was going to adhere well to this because this bench is very rough. So I knew I really wasn't going to need a primer or anything like that. And I could just start right away with the painting. So my first layer is going to be this dark brown color. I'm going to get that dry, and then I'm going to get a real dark green moss color, and then I'm going to do a little bit of distressing on the bench. And this is just a little plant stand, but I thought it was cute. I don't even know where it would have come from. I know nobody made it homemade because it had that tag on it that said plant stand. Otherwise, I would have thought that somebody just made it homemade, because it reminds me a lot of a little homemade rocking chair that a friend of mine made for my daughter when she was little. I still have that rocking chair, and I need to get with him because one little piece of it broke, and I would love to have it redone because it's something I want to keep. So, not worrying much about the paint job because this is just one of the coats. Usually I use a paper plate, but when I was cleaning the kitchen, I was emptying the dishwasher, and I found this bowl with a crack, and it also looked like a dog had chewed it up. So that tells me, I think my son had used this bowl to water one of his dogs, and he probably didn't realize that they had chewed it up with their teeth. So I was like, well, this is going in the trash. So before I throw it in the trash, I'm going to use it for my paint bowl. Save a paper plate. Even though this is a small piece, still takes a good bit to get it painted like you need it to be painted. I'm surprised this paint's not soaking in really fast. I have several different projects that I want to do. Seems like every time I go to the thrift store, I find more upcycles. I found a chair today at the thrift store just for $2, and I like to take chairs and make plant stands out of them, especially like the older chippy looking chairs. So the chair was in really good condition, except for somebody had took the seat off. It still had the area around the seat, so it's going to be perfect for me to take a plant in a plastic pot and just stick it right down in that seat. I have one of those in my yard. It's like an antique chair, and it looks really good. So when I saw this one for $2, I went ahead and grabbed it. And there's a lot of things you can use for a plant stand. This is not a very good paintbrush. I'm going to toss it after this coat and get a new one for the next coat. When I edit this, I can speed this part up, but so I'm just redoing this little bench that I got at the thrift store. It says it's a plant stand. It's very, very rough. If it didn't have that sticker saying plant stand, I would have thought it was homemade. I have no idea where this came from. I've never seen one quite like it. I just washed it real good, which is the same thing I would do if I was doing a big piece of furniture. I would go ahead and wash it really good. I use Simple Green. It's like a degreaser. It will get off dirt and grease and grime. So I use that. Let the piece dry really good. Then I decide if it's something that's going to need any prep work. If it's a piece of furniture, you take all the hardware off is the next step. But of course, This is just a little rough bench. Give me a nice little project I can probably finish tonight, or today, actually. Very, very rough. I'm just using a chalk paint. Already used that up. Where's the rest of it? When my brushes wear out, I use them for stirrers. Just pop the foam part off and save the stick, and I have a good thing to use to stir paint with. All right, let's see how we're looking. So if you like upcycles, DIYs, crafting, I'm going to try to get a few projects done, and then I'm going to try to do some sewing. I haven't sewed in a while, and that's what I originally started this channel as a beginner sewing channel. But I got interested. I've always been a thrifter, and I started fixing sewing machines and selling sewing machines after I fixed them. I was going to thrift stores, then I started finding things at the thrift store that I wanted to upcycle, and before I knew it, we had more than just a sewing channel. Almost done. I'm going to dry this. Start with the next coat. The next coat, I'm going to be doing a dark green. I'm just layering this brown because when I do a little bit of sanding on this piece, I want the brown to show through. See, I did the same technique on candlesticks last week. I bought 3 different candlesticks from 3 different thrift stores, and I painted them, and then I did some distressing and turned them into a set. Keep things out of the landfill, upcycle them. So much fun. I don't buy hardly anything new anymore. Okay. Usually when I paint any kind of furniture, I even paint where people are not going to see. Just in case, because you never know. And it gives your project a more professional, more finished look. That really doesn't matter with just this little bench, because I'm going to keep this myself. And I'm just going to use it as intended for a little plant stand. Very rough. Okay. Oh, I see things. Hello, how are you doing? Hi. I do. I think it's cute. I hope you have a good day as well. I don't know if you're a subscriber, but I will be doing a giveaway on my channel. So if you're not subscribed yet and you want to be included in the giveaway, there is a video that I just made tonight, and it tells you how to get in to the giveaway. I apologize, I didn't see you were talking to me. Yeah. Uh-oh. This little table I'm working on, I got it at a yard sale, and I love using it for just a little crafting table, and it folds up. My first thought was I was going to upcycle it, but I started crafting on it, and it's just very handy. Okay, so this is pretty much done. Not worried about if there's any places with just a little bit of white, whoops, showing, because that's going to be okay. That's just going to make it look more distressed, because I am going to be doing a distressing. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of these gloves. I'm going to get rid of this bowl. I'm going to dry what little bit is not dry. I'm going to dry it, and then I'm going to start with the dark green coat. But this time, I probably won't find another a bowl that my son let the dog eat out of that the dog ruined, so I'll just get a paper plate for my next coat. Okay. Put my gloves on. Gonna have just a little bit of noise for a minute. Okay. Now I can start my next coat, which is going to be a moss green. That's also going to be chalk paint. Chalk paint dries really quickly, but I'm speeding it up so I can get done. I have a playlist on my channel of when I do some upcycling of different furnitures. I have where I've done nightstands, plant stands, different things. Okay, now I know this isn't new. I've used this one before. This is moss in the Waverly chalk paint. So when I sand it, it's going to show some of the brown underneath. I'm just going to distress it just by sanding it in a few places, giving it just kind of an old vintage look. Okay, so that's how the green is looking. Let me see if I also have a smaller brush as well. Nope, looks like I just have to use the bigger one. Okay. I run out of the smaller paintbrushes quick. This is such a rough little bench. I don't know what kind of wood they made this out of. I'm gonna have to do a Google search and see if I can find it. They have $4 on it. And I like to have little projects, so I got it. So I have a playlist of upcycling, redoing vintage furniture, then I have a lot of thrift hauls. I go to thrift stores and yard sales, find things to upcycle. What does that keep sealing? I usually buy my Waverly chalk paint at Walmart. I painted the rocking chairs on my porch. And you want to talk about a big job. This would go much faster if this wood wasn't so rough. But I can tell that this coat is going on quicker than the first coat. All right, let's see how we're doing. The first piece of furniture I ever upcycled, I had a really old bookcase, and it had belonged to my mom and dad. It was in the first furniture they got when they got married, and it was a maple bookcase. So, let's see, my mom and dad have been married 60-something years. I think 69 years. So when I got that bookcase, it was probably about 45 years old. And I kept it in my house for about 20 years. And I noticed it was beat up and I wanted to redo it, but I had never redone any furniture. So I did not want to sand it down. I was felt leery of sanding it down and staining it. I didn't want to do that because I'd never done that before, but I also wanted something that would help hide the damage, because it had some places on it where I don't know what you would call it, because it was real wood, so it wasn't laminate, but it was still places where some of the wood had chipped off. So I decided I was going to try to chalk paint it. and I chalk painted it, and it looked good. And so I just started looking for furniture to redo and upcycle. I have done very minimal staining, but if you want to get started, I highly recommend chalk painting, because a lot of things, unless it's a really smooth satiny finish, you usually do not have to sand it, and you usually don't have to prime it, and you can just clean it really good and get right started painting. So it's the best thing to do. A small project, something to get your feet wet, to see if you enjoy it. Then gradually I have done a few projects where I've done some sanding. I've done a little bit of wood repair, nothing like earth-shattering. But I did repair. I got a vintage sewing machine, and the case was messed up, and it was a beautiful sewing machine, and it had the key, and it had one of those wooden curved cases. And I got it off of a Goodwill auction. And so I decided I was going to try to repair it, because I couldn't make it any worse. And it actually turned out pretty good, and I was pretty proud of it. So slowly I'm trying to learn more, but I have fallen in love with chalk painting. And if you want a piece that you want to, if you want to put it outside, you can get sealer and put on it. Or you can get sealer if it's a piece that's going to be in the house, because if you seal them with a polyacrylic seal, I like the spray kind, and you want the water-based, so it will not yellow with time. And it'll make your project nice and smooth, where you can clean it and dust it and, wipe it down. I think I would like to, my biggest project, my biggest undertaking, I would like to do my kitchen table. Haven't got quite that brave yet, but I would like to do my kitchen table. And I'm going to have to pay somebody to do my cabinets, but I've already got the paint for that. I'm getting brave. Everybody's got to start somewhere. I wouldn't mind having a big bench like that outside for me to sit on. Well, I wouldn't want to sit out there right now. I'm definitely a fall person. Definitely not into this heat. Any fireworks I see, I will be watching them on TV or out the window. I certainly will not be out there. I'm gonna have to let this dry before I do any sanding. I know what this reminds me of. When I was a little girl, my grandmother had furniture out on her porch, and every few years they would paint it. But I think they were using that old, like, oil-based paint. So by the time I got grown, there was every color you can imagine on those chairs. And every now and then somebody would think they were going to start redoing them. They'd get out the turpentine, start chipping away at that color, and usually they'd give up before they got done. All right, now let me look around, see if I got everything. See if I missed anywhere. Usually what I do with that last coat is I let it dry, and then I go back and just see if anything needs touching up. But again, in a project like this, when I'm going to be sanding it and making it chippy and distressed looking, does it really matter if you miss a spot and the white shows through? Because you can't tell if it's distressed or if you missed a spot. I think that's cute. I like it much better in the green than the white or the brown. Oh, I see where I've messed up here. I just tore up this big old paper bag and put it over my table. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dry this and then see if there's anything I need to touch up. Then I'll get to the sanding. I saw somewhere I missed. You know, if you wanna do like change the color on a picture frame or something, and if you don't want it to be look like just paint, if you mix water, half water and half paint, you can make kind of a stain out of any color. So that's kind of a neat technique. Just gives you a different look than painting does. All right, I think that's got it pretty good. Let's go ahead and use up the last bit. So what do you think? To distress it or to leave it? I think I'm going to distress it. But I kind of do like it. All right. Woo, don't want it falling off. That wouldn't be good. Woo, got it. This is not the most, ooh, I see a big old run. I'm glad I looked. Okay. Get this. Okay. All right. Hope I haven't missed anywhere else. Got to make sure it's good and dry before I can do any sanding. Otherwise, it's not gonna give the right effect. Okay, now I'm gonna give it a try and see if it's dry enough. Oh, let me get this out of the way. Now I can just take a piece of sandpaper. Let's see. Or I have this little finger sander, and you can get these from Amazon and you can get them from Temu. And it comes with a bag of these different sandpapers. And I think I'm going to try this one first. And if I don't like my result, then I'll just get a regular piece of sandpaper and try that. Because the wood on this bench is very rough, but this just has a little sticky thing, and the sandpaper has little fuzz and it sticks right on it. All right, so the first thing when you're sanding something, when you're trying to make it look distressed, you kind of want to sand it on the places where it would normally wear. So let me, Okay, I'll tell you what it's doing. It's going to take it down to the white because that was the last layer. But that's okay because I tell you what I can do. I was wanting it to show more of the brown. But what I can do is I can come back with some wax. Once I get it sanded, I have the dark wax. And I'll just come back, and where I've sanded it, I'll come back in and I'll rub it with that dark wax. So see, I'm going like along the edges. That's where wear usually happens. Let's see. I don't know if I'll, where else I might want it. Probably have a little bit of wear where the feet are. Can you tell where it's getting a little sanding? Getting the paint off, making it look a little distressed. Definitely on the edges. Okay. Okay. Okay, now I could leave it like that and just have the distressing in the white, but I think I'm gonna get the wax, and I think I'm gonna do a little bit with the wax. Okay. Okay, so now I have the Waverly wax, and I'm going to come in, and where I've sanded, I'm going to get a little bit of that wax on there, and it's going to make it darker, and it's going to give it an aged look. Let's see what I want to use. First thing I want to do is find my gloves. There we go. You definitely don't want to work with wax without gloves. And you know what? I think I'm going to use one of these little Brillo Basics so I can throw it away when I'm done. So I'm going to put these gloves on. And I definitely am going to need to edit this video so nobody, just so I can just show the steps. All right, so I'm going to get this out. All right, I'm going to try to okay, this table is not, it's not very steady because it's a bendable table, so it bends in the middle. All right, I want this to, I know you're open. Why do I always have a habit? Oh, okay, I know that one's open. Let me trade. All right, so we got a good look when I stressed it, distressed it. The white showed. Now let's see what we can do with some dark. Now you can take wax and wipe it all over the whole bench, and it'll make the whole thing look a little bit darker, and it'll make it look a little aged. And I like the farmhouse and I like the vintage, but I don't like it very primitive. Some people like it very primitive. And I don't like it real primitive. I do like it to look aged. Can y'all see the difference? I don't know if the camera's showing it, but it really makes a difference. Just that little bit of wax. Let's see where I want to. I'm wiping it on where I sanded. And then I'm coming back and wiping behind it to take some of it off. So it just turns it, just gives it kind of an aged appearance. And all the steps I used on this little bench is the same things I would have done if I was doing a bigger piece. The only difference is I would not have dried it with the blow dryer. I would have let it sit in between the different stages. And the more wax you put on it, the more you know, just add more to it, and the more you rub it in, the more aged, the more vintage it looks. So what I usually do is I always take a picture, and on the video I put the picture. So I put the picture of what it looks like when I'm done. So this is basically it. I'm just probably going to do just a little more of the wax, a little more aging, and I'll be done with this project. So thank you for being here. This is Nana with So It Seems. If you would like to be in our giveaway, there's a video from tonight. I'll be labeling it giveaway so you can find it. And all you do is comment on that particular video. And it's the video that has the red, white, and blue display. And that will get you entered into the giveaway. So thanks for being here. Everyone have a great night and a good 4th. Can't cut that off with my glove on.